Those holes. That's where we put small. Put it in there. You see? Those holes go a long way in there. Something shocking just happened. Digger Maines broke the internet. Digger is now in a fight that is much harder than any he's ever faced in the woods of Tennessee, even though he has won over the hearts of many with his sharp wit and old-fashioned distillation methods. There is a lot that he wouldn't share with the world. This time, his desire for privacy is becoming a break as he eventually speaks up on one personal issue that will amaze you. Digger just broke the online, and you don't want to miss this. What has he told us? Stay with us to learn. Digger Maines. Dwight is an old liquor merchant from across the hill. He has a lot of history in the industry of alcohol as well. Popcorn and Dwight, they did a lot of business together. Eric Digger Maines is the most a well-known person in modern America, making moonshine. His trip from a small town boy to TV star would make anyone, giving a suffering person permission to have lofty dreams. On the 20th, Digger was born at Newport, Tennessee on February 1964. He grew up in a close-knit neighborhood that helped him become who he is. His passion for his neighborhood also had an effect on him. Distilling. Charlie is Digger's father. Maines worked as a funeral director at Brown Funeral Home, and he spent a lot of his there for a long time as a child. He would sit in the funeral home, which occasionally did work at home. It was a sad place for a child, but it was how his father made a life. Eric became a teen, getting more and more involved with the family business. He helped his dad with the funeral routine. He embalmed bodies and assisted with the cleaning. Over time, he acquired his driver's license. This hands-on. The incident taught him learn to pay close attention to details. Working with his father also made the tie between father and son. Working in the funeral. For many, working in the business may have been a job that they would turn down at a little mention, but for Digger it was a summons to duty. This ability was first his father's, and now it was his. But his heart was getting closer to somewhere else. He was interested in moonshiners in the area. He adored the way they lived independently and showed a strong relationship to the land. He once said that he didn't go after this profession for the cash as it grows. He saw that old men were making liquor, were nice and always assisted folks that need help. The trade was against the law and promised a lot of money, but that was not what Digger wanted. The character of these folks was that of good men. They were independent yet also kind. They couldn't be criminals in his eyes. They were important members of the community. There were two places where he got his schooling. One was the useful skills he learned at the funeral home for his father. The second was the things he learned from the old-fashioned moonshiners. Some of them would say that he started learning when he fell under the care of Popcorn Sutton. Marvin Popcorn Sutton was a famous American Appalachian moonshiner and bootlegger from Maggie Valley, North Carolina. He was born on the 5th of October 1946 and came from a long line of people who make moonshine. He finally became an important person in the field, and Digger learned from him every part of the distilling process. The mentorship put Digger Maines on the right path to becoming successful at moonshining. He fell in love with his homeland and began a business there. Digger Eric, like a lot of East Tennesseans, discover calm and meaning in the hills and forests that have protected moonshiners for many years. Most of his life has been secretive, and he doesn't often show his family to the press. He has made moonshining left him a legacy, culture, and runs a funeral home as well. But getting to this point of achievement was not simple. Their pockets are full of cash. Everyone wants to use the money on a high-end booze, and we're going crazy. Pitch to get them to make some. He had learned how to do it all these years. Now he was going to do it. Having a camera on them, Mark Ramsey had already been on the 3rd season of the show. He wanted to do it with his. Digger was a longtime partner, but afraid to show up in front of millions. He had spent the last 40 years making alcohol without anyone knowing. Why would he start to do it now that it's real? TV? The thought of appearing on TV went against everything he knew about the. Mark talked him into doing business, nevertheless. Digger joined the show in its 4th season and has been on it ever since. The Mark and Digger were pals. Pretty enviable. They have worked together before. After all these years and know each other, know all the ways. We do love each. We love each other like brothers, and we are not going to do anything to hurt each other. Digger once stated something concerning his relationship with Mark. It made parts of the program better liked by the fans. Digger joining Moonshiners brought realness. He wasn't an actor. He was the real deal and knew how to do it. Manufacturing alcohol, he learned how to make. Stills and picks out ingredients from A. At an early age, he knows how to take charge, temperatures, and make good liquor. He was the finest at what he did. When Digger talked, discussed methods, or audience understood they were following customs, hearing from someone who had learned from the best. The chemistry between Mark and Digger became a big part of draw for the event. They joked with each other, helped each other out with problems, and occasionally disagreed, but always with respect. Digger also introduced new ideas to the old ways of making moonshine. People watched across the seasons. Mark and Eric try out new dishes and use special additives like elderberries. The two kept pushing the limits of what moonshining could be. Compared to some of the people in the cast, Digger was quiet and didn't talk much. In groups. Before being a part of the show, the two created moonshine without permission. They didn't have permission from the government to do the work they did, so they had to do. Most of their activity was done without anyone knowing. Mark and Eric joined the show after. Digger worked with Sugarlands distilling company to make it legal. Items made from moonshine. They made a lot of different tastes and recipes that are currently sold to the public, such as hazelnut. Brilliance from rum and rye apples. The change was a major deal. Digger went away from hiding the work he performed to proudly places, putting names on bottles that will be sold in retailers all around the United States. Finally, he could practice his trade in public without fear of being arrested. He finally had a place to make his business legitimate and also to get the word out. He might be a member of the craft he had fallen in love with. Being on the show made them famous. The show was a big change for Digger. He went almost everywhere in Newport and other places in the U.S. People knew his face and wanted to meet with him. This seemed odd for someone who had been trying for decades to stay out of sight, but he took care of the change with grace. Stability in finances was one of the numerous things that surprised me. With being on a show about real life, it made it possible for business deals to happen. Eric. Digger gained money by making moonshine, but it wasn't stable. The show gave him money security. He didn't have to. Anxiety about raids, arrests, or being scared that he couldn't take care of his family because the money came in slowly. Even the Digger's skill was recognized by the creators and put him in charge of judging Moonshiners, head distiller. Even if he was famous, Digger's genuine loves were still his little store in Newport 0082 0016. I have a secret weapon in my pocket. Tim doesn't have an idea what's coming his way. He has been able to spend time with the show, with his best friend, and do the work he loves. They have had to deal with new problems, reach new levels of accomplishment as a team. They made something that neither of them could have done by themselves. They stayed true to their roots no matter how famous they got and success. He kept being polite to the art that Popcorn Sutton and other legends about moonshining taught him. The show didn't change Digger. It gave him he just needed a bigger stage. From a secret moonshiner to a real businessman, his story is still one of the most motivating of his time. A grim turn would tell us who they were. No, it was a secret that was safe or something, right? Well, their record label won't let them. Eric Digger Maines has kept his record clean reputation since he lost it on the show in 2014. Some of the people in his cast have been in a lot of difficulty with the law and arguments, but not for Digger. The only thing people have argued about him connected with is about the show's realness. The people who made the show choose actors who are doing something criminal, moonshine, but no one gets caught. This has led to confusion and arguments. For years among viewers, there have been. People said that Digger and Mark were arrested, although these turned out to be untrue as there was never an official record of arrested for making moonshine. Digger was a true moonshiner before he joined the show. The show takes a lot of, majority of it is taken with creative freedom, put together with actors and producers, but the characters that show up on the people on the show are real, and each one has their own, a unique backstory, personality, and way of manufacturing moonshine. What people see on TV is probably a mix of actual moonshining information shown in dramatic situations. Digger has real knowledge from his 4 decades of experience, yet the illegal operations that are seen on TV are probably made for fun. It is both an art and a science to distill that has been around for hundreds of years. The first step is to ferment the grains, sugar, fruits, or sugar to make a liquid called mash, which makes naturally booze. The liquid is then warmed up in a still, separating the vapors of alcohol from water and dirt by evaporation and condensation. The outcome is a greater, proof spirit that can be flavored or aged to make the taste better. Traditional people who make moonshine in the Appalachian Mountains utilize copper stills a lot because copper eliminates sulfur compounds, which makes the ultimate product's purity. The close calls with the police make the show more exciting. In the 14th season of the show, A Look Around Their Truck showed a copper still. Stills made of copper themselves aren't against the law, but the federal government needs taxes and permits for distilled spirits making. Anyone who wishes to make, apply for and get permission to sell spirits, get permission from the Alcohol and Bureau of Tobacco Tax and Trade. They have to be known as a distilled spirit, plant and respect the rules for excise taxes, bonding, keeping records, and labeling. Just having a copper still is not against the law, but using one to make, selling or giving out alcohol without can get you the right permissions and state licenses, lead to big fines and jail time costs. The TTB says that legal producers must file detailed, keep proper records and documentation, keeps track of every batch they create in laws about small scale, and the way people make alcohol at home has started to change. A Texas federal court decision in 2024 questioned long-standing federal limits on making alcohol at home. It said that some portions of these restrictions were not allowed by the Constitution since they applied to those who make their own alcohol as a hobby. This choice set off. There is a fresh dispute regarding whether private distilling for non-commercial purposes could one day be allowed or controlled in a different way, like barley. Yes, that's right. Barley gives it a nice nutty tone from the soil. We haven't manufactured any liquor like that in. For a long, long time, we haven't. The two of them saving grace was a hole put in the right spot by their Kenny, an associate. The still was made, not working, stopping any urgent arrests. For the most part, the plot stayed the same. The same goes for the other actors. They would almost run into the police and just barely avoid trouble. The absence of. One of the things that makes it so bad is that there are no real legal penalties. The most important part of the show, disagreements. Some people have said that Digger and Mark might not be doing anything wrong, any offense. Some people who watch think everything they see is contrived and fake, was stuck in the center of it. The methods of moonshining were real, yet some of the real-life delights were made into a play. He hasn't been taken into custody for DUIs or any other crimes. Newport has been his main goal. He has set aside time and effort into making his neighborhood better. His business relationship with Mark Ramsey has also stayed dramery. Most individuals thought there would be, but there were problems in the friendship. That didn't seem to be happening. Not anytime soon. But Digger has been impacted in some way by controversies, with additional cast members in the show itself, when other moonshiners on. The program was in danger of being arrested or sued. Issues, it made others wonder. Everyone's participation. When people watch. Found out how much of the show was staged. It changed how they saw all. The cast, which includes Digger. People have also said bad things about the show for praising criminal behavior and technically telling individuals to break the law. But these problems were vary from what Digger would have to deal with later. He talked about rumors in season 13 regarding his health and told him about his sick. He said it was making him to do something major before he goes home. No one recognized how bad the sickness was. He was in pain till he told everyone about it. The show that he had been told he had chronic lymphocytic leukemia. It was a malignancy that affects the blood and bone marrow. Usually became worse as time went on. It was marked by unusual development of lymphocytes, a kind of white blood cell, very important for the immunological system. 4. Someone who made his life revolve around work in the Highlands, and this diagnosis was a problem for operating stills, a big threat to the way he lived. After several tests, my definite diagnosis is chronic lymphocytic. Leukemia is a condition that is not end, but it's not fun. Most likely will merely make me miserable till something else will kill me. Your prayers. You are more than welcome to extend. And thought. His way of dealing with the disease was unexpected. He wasn't looking for. Feeling sorry for himself or hiding away. He kept his usual way of looking at life and carried the moonshining world and indicate that viewers were in favor of and said prayers, but nothing happened. Same. There was a sort of terror in the air at the moment, and this unknown. The sickness was slowly eating away at a symbol of moonshine. The time when Digger told Mark about his diagnosis, which was one of the most moving sequences in the history of the show. Damn, it looks like the furnace fell apart. It did. The task is to get rid of anything that could be seen as against. For people who had seen their relationship grow throughout several years of episodes, watching Mark learn about his. My dearest friend's disease was really serious, really sad. It wasn't a drama that was written down or made up. Two pals were facing something scary, together in real life. When the final cut comes, they watched it with the other supporters. It wasn't. Both buddies had an emotional experience. Mark's response to Digger's diagnosis has always been there for me. Their partnership stayed the same, no matter what the illness is. The people who made it. The Discovery Channel likewise had to deal with a hard choice when Digger told his diagnosis. They could have made it less, cut it out, or made it a big deal. Plot for the sake of drama. They choose a more polite option instead. Method. They told Digger he could narrate his narrative in the way he wished. Producers admit that the scenario, without taking advantage of it, it was not made into a gimmick to get ratings or a very exciting episode. The channel still has Digger as a main character, cast member, and the network hasn't told him to cut back on his work or leave away from the show. They have exhibited evidence of full trust and a belief that Digger can stay strong in the show. The making. The schedule has been made to fit Digger's medical demands without making it clear to people who are watching. Chronic lymphocytic leukemia necessitates constant surveillance and treatment, which means going to the doctor, appointments, and possible times when he isn't feeling good. The producers have worked around these new rules and have done everything they can to help Digger. Josh Owens, Tim, and Stephen Ray Tickle Smith and the other cast members kept working with Digger after the announcement. The show works like a close-knit neighborhood, yet a lot of really cared about him. Fans have been very helpful because Digger told him what was wrong. On social media, people have been sending words of support, prayers, and words of encouragement. A lot of people feel close to Digger and are afraid about what will happen when he is not there. Affect the show. They are also giving their own experiences with leukemia and giving help and advice. This has built a strong community around Digger, showing how much they care about him as a person. Digger has said thank you to his fans. Thanked their prayers, stating they are. Thank you and welcome. Being with chronic lymphocytic leukemia can be hard. Digger treats symptoms like feeling weary, becoming sick, and not feeling well. These signs don't always mean clear. Even with these problems, Digger is still working on his moonshining projects, and other things they love. Leukemia doesn't signal the end of life. There are different ways to treat it, including as watching, steroids, and radiation therapy, to finish full-blown chemotherapy or an operation. The treatment depends on how far the sickness has gone and the health of the patients as a whole. For the early stage of this disease that could kill you, doctors take a watch and wait strategy. Patients get regular checks without immediate care. Starting early does not mean that the patient will live longer or better, but with regular inspections, a doctor can tell you when it is okay to take medications. When treatment becomes necessary, tailored medicines are most of the time the first choice. The drugs will kill the cancer cells without hurting as many directly, as many healthy cells as normal chemotherapy does. These treatments are only available for a short time, now chosen because they are cheaper, over time, and stop the cancer from developing immune to drugs. The patients can live their lives without the gloom, a shroud of dread hanging over them in the form of several pills and shots. For people who are more seriously ill, a transplant of stem cells is needed. We don't know anything about Digger's case. What has been said thus far is that he is having regular medical care, checks to keep an eye on his health. What is crucial that he is taken care of, while still doing what he loves. Digger's diagnosis hasn't affected who he is or what he cares about. He is still focused on keeping the business going as usual, and you would expect nothing less from the famous Digger. The Moonshiners couldn't accomplish it anyway without you and Bees. We're going to do everything it takes to give you a great send-off. Takes to give you a big send-off. When Moonshiners initially came on the Discovery Channel on December 6, 2011, nobody thought it would become one of the network's most popular reality shows. The show is still on more than 10 years later, running, having made hundreds of, and a few spin-offs, as well as showing a hidden world that most people in the US had never seen it before. The program is a docudrama series from the United States, Discovery Channel, made by McGilla. Fun. The story followed a narrative about those who break the law, moonshine in the Appalachian Mountains of Kentucky, North Carolina, and South Virginia, Tennessee, and Carolina. There were already 262 episodes in 2022 came out. Shows like Deadliest, Catching Gold Rush had already showed that viewers were intrigued in people who undertake risky and hard effort in regions that are hard to get to. This idea fits moonshining nicely. The time was also important in terms of culture. Important. The spirits were getting stronger, well liked all around the US, and there were distilleries popping up all over the place. People were starting to wonder about made liquor and the thrill that originated from the fact that it was prohibited as well. The tradition of moonshining also had a lengthy history in the United States. It went back hundreds of years to when farmers made alcohol from leftover grain. A lot. Farmers in the country made their own whiskey made from extra corn or grain, and to make more money. When the government put levies on booze, some people didn't want to pay in the late 1700s. This led to the rebellion against whiskey. In the 1920s, when alcohol was illegal, the highest point of moonshining was reached. They sold illegal alcohol all across the country. Even after drinking became legal, again, the custom went on in far off mountain towns we're getting to. There weren't many legitimate distilleries. It became a main subterranean business. By 2011, the old time, moonshiners were going out of business. Younger people weren't learning the craft, and a lot of the famous shiners who were passing it on for decades. On as one of their last big was buried. People who worked together to make sure that the tradition stayed alive over time. It wasn't just putting it on TV for fun. It was a way of keeping culture alive. Filming the show come with its own problems. The show that they were following folks who were illegal work that could get you in trouble with the law, and problems with making things. McGilla. Entertainment have to discover safe and hidden ways to film in the mountains without letting the moonshiners, without giving away the moonshiners, secret activities and the personal challenges and fights that come with that way of life. The team used it a lot. Night vision gear, because most of People say that the moonshining happened after. Dark so they wouldn't be seen. From the beginning, the truth of all. People have questioned reality shows. In the area, officials have said that the performance is not what it looks like. Some Virginia officials have said that there is no illegal alcohol being made by the folks you see on TV. Part of the production is written, scenarios, planned raids, and controlled. Realistic-looking filming setups, distilleries that are hard to find. This method gave the show an excitement of unlawful, doing things without really breaking the, while filming. When you choose the cast, the people that made Moonshiners deliberately looked for people with real-life experience with moonshining and different kinds of people. They were looking for anyone who had lived a life and might show they knew how to do the job early. People in the cast like Tim Smith and Stephen Ray Tickle came straight from the world of making moonshine. Tim Smith had been brewing his own booze for a long time before the presentation and then launched a lawsuit, a distillery by the name of Climax Moonshine. Tickle had worked with a lot of different moonshiners during his lifetime. For life, he was full of life and free. His sense of humor made him quick fame. As the series grew, there were new people on the show. Mark Ramsey came in season 3, then his Digger Maines, a longtime friend and collaborator. In season 4, Josh Owens, who used to be a top motocross racer, brought a more youthful and adventurous vibe to the actors. The creators put in a lot of effort to include a lot of different ways to making moonshine. Some of the people in the cast brought the ways their families taught them. Some tried out different ingredients and some stayed with the old-fashioned moonshine cooking ideas. A lot of the original cast members are still on the show. Members are still in the show as of this year. Josh Owens has been in around 175 episodes, including Tim Smith in 151 and Tickle in 150. They all did well. Went from making moonshine illegally to businesses that are lawful. Tim's Climax. People in the United States can now buy moonshine. States. Digger Maines and Mark Ramsey worked along with Sugarlands Distilling. Company will make its own legal items made from moonshine, even if they were hurt. A bad motorcycle accident in 2022 that broke a lot of bones in his body. He kept up with the show. He began the season 13 with Josh on crutches. He was set on going back to distilling, even if they were hurt. I'm sick of this. Tickle keeps showing up on the show, too. He has been through a lot of personal struggles while still being funny. He hasn't ceased working with other people, members of the cast. Some of the cast members have left the Moonshiners. Some have been quiet, whereas some, like Chuck Bison, have had a lot of fights with making. Popcorn Sutton has died before the event started, and a lot of sad that Sutton didn't not live long enough to see a show continuing the work of Moonshiners. The show has done really well in the ratings. For the channel Discovery, it got a 1.7 rating among its target audience. It won the night on cable and came in second. Of all the shows that air at 10 p.m., its viewership was strong across a range of different ages. It lasted for more than for 10 years and gave birth to several spin-offs. The network said in 2013 that spin-off that focused on Stephen Ray Tickle, another series called the first episode of Moonshiners' whiskey business aired. It came from a special episode in Tim Smith helped a struggling Missouri distillery. Reviews that are important have been mixed. A lot of people have written reviews, said good things about the show's unique story and chemistry between the actors. They have been worried about being real and taking things, but audiences have responded well to the critics. Fans like learning about the craft and enjoy the excitement that comes with it. The performance has also opened up business opportunities for a lot of its stars. Some have begun, made legal distilleries, wrote books, and made public appearances and developed lasting jobs. For folks who are having a hard time in rural places, this meant there was a method out of a life that wasn't great. If Moonshiners is real or partly staged, the show has kept the audience fascinated and happy at the conclusion of each episode. Moonshiners has made as a display and as a legacy for itself. A picture of a group of people that started a tradition and have stayed true to it. What do you think of the art of moonshining? Talk about what you think in the please leave comments. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up. Watch this video, share it, and sign up for this channel.